it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Fireside Knicks with your boys, Alex and Dylan. Today we're talking about 3 players the Knicks should stay the hell away from, because I know this offseason is going to be a lot of rumors, going to be a lot of ideas, and a lot of people are going to say, maybe we should sign this guy or trade for that guy. And we have 3 guys in mind that we should stay far away from, mainly because maybe the financial aspect of it, maybe health concerns, age concerns, and maybe they're just not the right pieces for us, and we need specific type of pieces. If you want to add that real superstar alongside Jalen Brunson, it's got to be the right superstar. It can't be guys that are going to fall short. It can't be guys that would essentially just be the same thing as Julius Randle. It's got to be more. It's got to be better. But Dylan, before we dive into the 3 players we have in mind today, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. First off, it's good to be on here again, once again with a Knicks episode with you. It's been a minute since we've done a Knicks together. But with that being said, we're going to, obviously talk about players that we want to be away from. The Knicks' main needs are more clear. We need shooting, but more so in the wing area. Guys that, can defend well and shoot well, of course. Give us a little bit of size, but, we don't necessarily need upgrades in the center department, more so in the wing department. I think that's like their biggest needs. I think that's pretty clear. And, for the first guy in mind that I have that I want the Knicks to stay away from, most fans who have been watching us know this because me and Ryan have been emphasizing this, but Karl Anthony Towns. We want nothing to do with Karl Anthony Towns, and the reason for that is because, yes, he's a good big man, he's a good player that can shoot well from outside. So on the surface, it sounds like he fits that, portfolio for, shooting and addressing all the size and all that, but I think if you do like say a Randall and Cat swap, you're not really getting much out of that. It's kind of like it feels like almost a lateral move, or if anything, even a step back, because Cat is not a good defender. We all know that. He's more of just an outside big. He doesn't really impact the game very well in the low post or anything like that. He's a decent rebounder, but I still think Randall was a better rebounder than Cat. And also, Cat also slimmed down this past season because he was forced to play the 4 when they got Rudy Gobert. So I think you kind of are taking a disadvantage here when you good offensive front court but a horrible defensive front court, and I think that you get Cat because I just don't think there's really a fit for him. If you were to put Cat at center, let's say, and you kept Randall, then you have will affect the Knicks negatively. I think that'll be more of a net negative rather than a net positive. So that's why I think they should stay away from Cat. Yes, he puts up high numbers. Yes, he does. He puts up good scoring numbers, good shooting numbers, all that stuff. That's great. I just don't think the Knicks is a good spot for him personally. I don't think we would really get that much better if we added Cat. I feel like we would either be as good as we are now or even possibly worse. I don't really think that's like the guy that I want the Knicks to get for us to be like that title contender, let's say. I don't think he's the one. The only way I would even listen to a Cat trade is if they were to include Jaden McDaniels in a trade, because I like Jaden McDaniels and I kind of like what he could bring to the Knicks possibly, but quite frankly I don't expect Minnesota to move him, so therefore I'm pretty much out on Cat entirely. And yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say about that. What do you think about that?
I mean, look, Cat has played over 70 games once in the last 4 years. That's all I got to say. You know what I mean? He's not reliable. He gets injured. Do the Knicks really need another big guy who's going to get injured? You already got Mitchell Robinson, who goes down pretty frequently on a year-by-year basis. And, Cat's an elite scorer. It's a totally different type of vibe. He thinks he has a lot more gas left in the tank. He's 27 years old. He probably does. But not with the Knicks. We need a superstar. We need a guy who has the capacity not only to stay healthy, but to change the course of a game in the blink of an eye, to come up with a big shot, to come up with a big moment, a big steal defensively, a big anything. As you mentioned, not a great defender. He is a scorer, but his stats have been slowly decreasing in specific categories. You look at his total rebounds. They've been decreasing ever since those 2 All-Star appearances in 2018, 2019, rather 2017 to the 18 season, and 18 to the 19 season obviously was a All-Star 2 years ago, 2021 to 2022. But his total rebounds have been regressing. The points last year obviously only played in 29 games, so 20.8 points, small sample size. His field goal percentage has been inconsistent in the last couple of years, dipped below 50% at one point. He can shoot the 3. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter, but he's only, averaging, I guess he averages a pretty solid amount, 4.2 per game. So, this is a player that has elite scoring capabilities, but he may not be on the floor to actually exercise them. So, in my perspective, I want players that have been healthy. I want players that are going to be healthy. I want players that have proven track records. And Cat, while he was proven, I think he has lost that bit of reliability and durability, and that concerns me the most. If you're going to go for the piece to pair with Jalen Brunson, it's got to be one that's going to be playing regularly. Like Julius Randle, the one thing I will say about him, the guy freaking plays, and he plays hard, and he plays through injury. And does he not perform altogether that well during the postseason? Absolutely. He's not the best playoff, scorer, not the best playoff player. The laziness, the lapses in judgment, they certainly show up on the tape very frequently. And we need players who are going to show up in those big moments. Making the playoff does not matter if you don't show up in those big moments at the end of the day. So yes, in my opinion, Cat, don't want to go in that direction. I know that Tom Thibodeau has love for him based on their days together with the Timberwolves, but I just, you gotta, don't fall for the trap. You know what I mean? The Knicks can't fall for the trap of familiar faces. They need to go for the players who's going to make Jalen Brunson better, and that Jalen Brunson's going to make them better. They got to be thinking about Brunson and who they got to pair with him to make this team elite. That is my entire perspective, and I don't think Cat is that guy either.
Right, and like you were saying too, Cat hasn't played a full season in a while and stuff, and he had the injury this year, and he only played I think 29 games or something like that, and yeah, overall in his career he's put up good numbers, but like I said, I just don't think the Knicks is the spot for him. If there's anywhere else to go, it would be more for a team that needs I don't think there's really a fit for him here. I don't think there is. I think he's a good player, a shooting big or something. I don't think the Knicks need to get a shooting center. I think they're fine with Mitchell Robinson. I think they need to address the wing area more. That's what I really think. And some people might say, "Oh, we have RJ." Well, maybe it's time to move past RJ, but that's a different discussion for another time. We've had a bunch of those discussions. But moving on to the next guy, I think the Knicks need to stay away from. I wrote an article about this yesterday or this morning actually. Russell Westbrook. So there is the possibility that the Knicks still possibly even initiate negotiations with Brook. I'm sure, many Knicks fans don't expect Russell Westbrook to be engaged with the Knicks at all, and of course I expect that too. But he is a free agent, so Westbrook, but you don't want to get Westbrook. First off, the Westbrook is 34 years old. The team's average age is 24.9. It's a young team. He already right there doesn't fit the timeline of where this team is going because this team's being young and this team is trying to acquire assets for the long term, not short term. If you get Westbrook, it would be a very short term thing, kind of like a Kemba Walker situation. You don't want that again. I know that. And plus, we have Emmanuel Quickly already as a backup guard. Jalen Brunson's already solidified himself as the starting point guard. So there's really no point in getting Westbrook. And plus, too, numbers wise, his career's been on the decline for a while. I think this year it really hit its rock bottom point. This season he averaged 15.9 points, which doesn't sound that bad, but for Westbrook that's his lowest since his rookie season. He averaged 5.8 rebounds and 7.5 assists, which are okay numbers, but those were over 73 games with the Lakers and the Clippers, because we all know he got traded from the Lakers and then reached a buyout with Utah from his big contract and then signed a rest of the year deal with the Clippers. But his efficiency also, he hasn't been known to be a reliable 3-point shooter pretty much at all since the later stages of his career, since after he won his MVP. He's only averaging 30% from outside since 2019. He gets most of his points in the paint. The Knicks don't need to get another guy that slashes or another guy that gets in the paint. They need a guy that can shoot. You're not going to turn Russell Westbrook into a spot-up shooter. The Lakers literally tried to do that, and it worked out terribly. So if the Knicks were to try to do the same thing, you could expect the same result for them. So therefore, there's really no point in getting Russell Westbrook. It would just make no sense, really, and it's another guy I need to stay away from. What do you think about that?
I mean, wherever the guy goes, it's just constant mayhem. I don't want that type of vibe in the locker room. And as you said, I mean, he's 34 years old. He is 3 years removed from his last All-Star appearance. This is not the superstar move the Knicks need to do. There's no reason to overspend on a player like this. Can he score? Sure. Can he do some good stuff in that regard? Is he still very athletic? Yes. But he is random. He messes up your offensive continuity because he's very unpredictable. Russell Westbrook just does things because he wants to do things, and the Knicks are trying to establish, a pretty situated offense. And their scheme, their calls, their plays, they need to be executed properly. And Russell Westbrook just takes things into his own hands at times and just completely disrupts flow. He's a flow destroyer, and that's kind of the best way I could put it. When you have players like that, it makes everyone look bad. It forces you to play better defense. And, Russell Westbrook obviously is not going to help much in that regard. And, he played 21 games last year with the Clippers, 52 with the Lakers. And look, that experiment flopped tremendously. The one thing I will say about what I think the Knicks desperately need, and I think that they honestly, maybe not even need. And this is more so going back to Emmanuel quickly. They got to bring back quickly because I don't think he's reached his ceiling yet. And you saw what Kyle Lowry did to us. You know what I mean? When you have that guy, that backup, that shooter, that point guard, that guy can take the ball down the floor and do all those things you need and score efficiently, like it makes a huge difference. When Jalen Brunson was off the floor, the Knicks looked inept. They were just feeble, to say the least. They need quickly to step up in the playoffs now. Like that's the next step in his development. He kicked ass during the season, looked like a phenomenal player, great talent, but he fell apart in the playoffs. And like that was what changed the story for the Knicks. Like if he played well, they probably would have walked over the Heat in some of those games if they had that secondary scorer. I think we win some of those closer games. And ultimately, that's the kind of key piece the Knicks are losing. I'd rather just spend the money on quickly, and I'd stay the hell away from Russell Westbrook. So I'm in the same boat as you.
Right, Emmanuel quickly has proven to be at this stage more valuable than Russell Westbrook at this point in his career. Yes, Russell Westbrook has the track record and all that stuff, but the Knicks are going younger. They're looking to use fresher legs out there. They're not going to go sign a 34-year-old point guard to get to play like 15 minutes a game, and I don't even think Russell Westbrook would be pleased in that kind of role. We've seen he's been kind of begging for playing time, and I feel like wherever he goes, he's going to want to go to a team that's going to guarantee him playing time. And I'm not saying he's going to go to like a bad team. No, he's going to try to go to a good team, but he's going to try to ensure that he'll get playing time on that good team. But with that being said, we're going to move on to the third and final guy. That guy is Kristaps Porzingis that the Knicks need to stay away from. Now, Porzingis had a bit of a redemption year this year. He played in his most amount of games since 2016. He played 65 games this year, averaged 32 minutes. He actually averaged a career high in points this year, too, at 23.2. He shot decently well. He shot 49% from the field and 38 from three. Overall, a good season for Washington, but, Washington did not make the playoffs, so it's unfortunate for them. But the reason I think the Knicks need to stay away from him is because, yes, on the surface, great shooting big. He has good defense, too, for center. He averaged 1.5 blocks a game. But the injury history one is a huge drawback. Like I previously mentioned, he hadn't played really this many games in a season since 2016. 2017, he only played 48 games. 2019, he only played 57 games. He actually missed the 2018-2019 season entirely. 2020, he only played 43 games. 2021, he played 34 games. So, I mean, actually, he played 51 games, but 34 of them with Dallas. But regardless, that's still not a full season. So with that being said, the injury history and the fact that he's going to want a big contract. We saw the contract Dallas gave him, and that was a horrible contract, to say the least. Terrible contract. The fact that they were able to get rid of him is pretty impressive, honestly. I don't think, though, I think Porzingis is going to want to, get a lot of money. He's going to demand upwards of close to 100 mil, I would like to assume. Obviously, I'm not confirming anything. I don't have this kind of intel, but I'm just assuming based on his track record and what he's always seemed to want to do. He always seems to want to get the most value out of himself. So that being said, he's probably going to want a lot of money, and I don't think the Knicks should shell out a lot of money for Kristaps Porzingis for a guy that I don't think is going to necessarily make them a title contender. And plus, too, just internally, I feel like it'll be kind of an awkward reunion. When he left the Knicks, it was kind of in an awkward fashion. He was injured a lot, and then he's not playing, and he's basically saying he wants out because the team isn't winning, which I understand you want out when the team's not winning, but he pretty much just gave up on us 3 years into his career without even playing really a full season, only once. So it was kind of just an awkward departure, and it would be an even more awkward reunion, I think, if they brought Porzingis back to the Knicks. And plus, I just don't know how he would pair with Julius Randle very well. Porzingis is going to want to get his touches. He's going to want to get his shots. He averaged 15.7 shot attempts per game this year. Julius Randle takes a lot of shots as well, and so does Jalen Brunson. I don't know how they're going to be able to evenly split the ball up between those three guys, so that would be an interesting combination to say the least. But it's more so just internal factors and outside and more off the court factors that draw me away. Yes, he's a talented player, and he did have a good, nice little bounce back season this year, but I just don't think it's worth the Knicks shelling out money for and bringing him back after just that really weird departure. It would create a lot of awkward tension if they brought him back after that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely agree with the awkward tension aspect of it, and you could make the argument that Porzingis is a better natural scorer than Randall. I think that the physicality Randall favors. I think that 3-point shooting, Randall's not very good. I mean, what did he shoot? 343 this past year. He's a 336 career 3-point shooter. He's maybe average. Porzingis is not known for shooting threes. That's not something that you're going to see him do pretty frequently. In terms of like high percentage, I mean, I guess he did attempt 5.5 this past season, but I'd say he's more so known for those post shots and like those elbow shots, those jumpers, like very very good in respect to those kind of intermediate range shooting. But averaged 23.2 points per game last year over 32.6 minutes. There's a debate to be had that would say like he'd be better than Randall. There's an argument to be made. But again, like it's marginal, and he's not pushing this team over the hump to be a championship winning team. Like that's the truth. And if the Knicks are going to go out and get a player of that magnitude to really help you win a championship, it's not going to be Porzingis. It's not going to be Julius Randle. It's not going to be Russell Westbrook, and it's not going to be Cat. So who are we really discussing here? You know what I mean? Like we're in my head, I would love to see Embiid and Jalen Brunson on the same team. Like that, personally, maybe a lot of people don't want Embiid. Maybe a lot of people have different takes, and I'm happy to hear them. Love having good conversation. We're all fans of the same team, so it's all love at the end of the day. But the prospect of having two players with that type of quality and to take the pressure off of each other, you don't find it very often. You know what I mean? It'd be pretty fun to watch. I'll tell you that. It'd be one of the best Knicks teams we've seen probably in the history of the entire franchise. So it'd be pretty fun. I definitely think that there's a lot to be done this offseason. The Knicks obviously have to make a decision on who that player is going to be, who they're going to target, but they got to take care of some of their own first. You got to go and re-sign Josh Hart. You got to get Quickly back. I think we have a really nice developmental pieces when it comes to Quentin Grimes. I'm a huge Quentin Grimes fan. I think he has so much potential that we haven't even seen yet. He should be a lot more aggressive driving the hoop in the future. He can do a lot of stuff for you that isn't just shooting threes. I think he can be more than a 3-and-D player. When you look at players the Knicks need, as you said, we need more spacing. We need more good shooters. Obi Toppin, he either hits or he bricks, and that's kind of the reality with Toppin. This Knicks team, they're trying so hard to force this transition offense, and it just doesn't seem to be sustainable at times because Toppin is a very specific type of player. I wouldn't be surprised if we traded in this offseason. Love Toppin as a guy, really, really solid player and has a lot of potential, but I wouldn't be surprised if we moved him at the end of the day. And RJ Barrett, we need to see a much better performance. We know what RJ Barrett can do. We've seen him come in and make big moments happen, big plays, but the truth is it's wildly inconsistent. We need to see it happen on a daily basis. We need to see it happen, at least every 2 out of 3 games, he has good ones. Like he can't go on 10 game stretches of being awful and then go on 2 game stretches, oh, there he is, and then he disappears again. It's not sustainable. Can't see it, can't happen, but he's only 22 years old, guys. Kid's young. He just is eligible to drink in freaking U.S. now. So I'll tell you this, I'm not really worried about RJ Barrett's development. I think he has a lot of time. It's not something I'm totally concerned about. But always happy to hear perspectives below in the YouTube comments. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to the Fireside Knicks channel, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.